I did residency in North Philly, 15, sometimes 24 people would come in shot on a night.
The thing that I love about real estate is it allows you to give a big fuck you to your boss. Real estate gives you the freedom that you need to go do whatever you want.
When you see the life leave a human and you can tell that the spirit is no longer there, you just have to believe it.
I didn't even have enough time or energy to dream about what I wanted to do next. It was wake up, work for 10 to 12 hours, come home, work some more, eat, Netflix, go to bed. This is back in 2015 when Airbnb was like brand new. People thought we were crazy and we only had one shower at the time. Guests would like come out in their robe and be like, hey, can I use the shower? I'd be like, yeah, go ahead.
Two vascular surgeons walk into a bar and come out with a podcast. We are talking everything vascular and not. Welcome to the Life of Flow podcast.
The following podcast is not relating to my teachings and work at Del Cedar Medical Center and is for entertainment purposes only.
Hey, Kassidy. All right, this is, I guess we're going to start doing this more, just episodes when Miguel can't be here or when I can't be there. So we'll do solo episodes with a guest. So you're first. So thank you for being here.
Lucas, so good to be here, dude. Thank you.
Yeah. We're in Austin in some indescript location that looks nice for a change. Setup or like raggedy setup. And yeah, we met through Courtney as all of Austin.
All of Austin meets through Courtney.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, she told me about you and your business and what you're doing and what you're creating in the world. So I was like, oh my God, this is like perfect for Life of Flow. So yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and your story and all the things you've done and some of the crazier parts that she mentioned?
Yeah. Well, and I'm a real estate investor and I help people buy the right type of real estate. And so we'll get into that. But basically I started because I got burned out. I was like climbing the corporate ladder, right? I was in engineering, I was in IT, and I was like, I'm gonna run this company, right? That was my whole thing was like, I'm going to succeed by becoming an executive. And that was my corporate path, right? I came from a middle-class family, save money, work hard, get a job, go to college, like all that stuff.
The huge,
yes. And I started with a paper route. I had been working since I was like 10 years old, really.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting close to the top at the company that I was working for in corporate. And the hours were getting longer. The conversations were getting more difficult. They were like conflict conversations all the time. It was very energy draining, right? And then I saw how decisions were made at the top.
Yeah.
And so if anybody out there is in corporate and they can probably resonate with what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Is like, it's accounting based, or they don't really care about customers. They don't really care about who you're serving. Like it's a different world at the top. And I was looking at everyone's lifestyle. They were overweight. They didn't take care of themselves. They were always on the phone or on call. I'm sure your audience
can relate to that.
Could relate to that, right? Being on call, and I worked for the power company, so I was doing like storm duty stuff, right? So I was on call quite a bit too.
Yeah.
And it just like destroyed my love life, my relationship with my wife, like the things that I enjoyed doing. I was no longer enjoying life, right? And then I was looking at what I had decided I was going to do and realizing that that's not really what I wanted anymore. And so my wife and I made a decision to quit our jobs and go live in a van. And so we spent about 18 months saving every penny that we could. We became obsessed with saving as much money as we could so that we could enjoy this time on the road together.
Yeah.
The purpose of doing that was not just to do van life and wanderlust and all that. It was because I realized I didn't even have enough time or energy to dream about what I wanted to do next. There was no ability to dream. It was wake up, like maybe go to the gym, commute to work for 10 to 12 hours, come home, work some more, eat, Netflix, go to bed, right? Like that was it. And there was literally no other time to even like connect with my wife or connect with the world or myself or dream about what was next. So the van trip was really, we needed space.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we got. So it was like the second day on the van trip that my wife and I looked at each other. I said, what do you want to do with your life? She said, I want to invest in Airbnbs. I want to own a bunch of properties all over the world.
When was this? What year?
2019.
2019. Okay.
Yeah, it was 2019. 2018. And but it was the second day of being in the van trip. We had left Montana, where my wife's family's from, and we were driving through Yellowstone, and We looked at each other, and that was it. That was all the space that we needed. Was like 2 days of.
Did that resonate with you, or?
Oh
So-
yeah,
yeah.
100%. Yeah, and we had already been renting out the spare bedroom in our condo.
Yeah.
Right. So
At least how it starts.
that's how it started.
Yeah.
It was like $35 a night.
Yeah.
Our spare bedroom. This is back in 2015 when Airbnb was like just brand new.
Yeah.
And people thought we were crazy.
Yeah.
Right. And we only had one shower at the time. And so we had to, yes, we had to coordinate with guests. Guests would like come out in their robe and be like, "Hey, can I use the shower?"
Yeah.
I'd be like, "Yeah, go ahead." And we were doing, $35 a night on some nights, but it paid for most of our mortgage. It taught us everything we needed to know about like hosting guests and being in the hospitality industry and, doing everything through the app and chatting. So we knew that we had already liked that, but we wanted to take it a step further. And so from that point on, the van broke down. And it broke down and it broke down and it broke down.
Yeah.
And so after 6 months, we gave up and then we went back to work. But we went back to work with a purpose. We said, okay, we're going to do consulting. We're not going to go back and get our regular W-2. We kind of hacked it. So we like tripled our rate, but we were running a consulting company.
Yeah.
But we were basically doing the same work. And that's also a hack for your audience is like, if you're very good at your job, quit and then come back as a consultant for
physicians and for people that do our audience is mostly people in the vascular interventional space, so it's all you kind of work with your hands.
Yeah,
there is some consulting that people do with medical device companies around that.
Yeah.
So but yeah, for sure.
But
Yeah.
the advice there is really like if you can leverage yourself outside of like your traditional employer,
Yeah.
there is more money for you to be made doing what you already do today, or a little bit more, right? So if you can coach, consult, host certain events or webinars, or do additional work for a higher rate, that's a hack, right? So I understand that most people will just do their 40-hour-a-week job or 60-hour-a-week job.
Yeah.
But what I learned from that is that when we had the purpose behind the work, going back to work, it was so that we could go buy real estate and save on taxes and
Yeah.
create generational wealth for ourselves. And so having that purpose behind working really drove us for like 5 years. And we ended up buying, I think, like 10 properties over that 5-year period. So
Yeah.
2 a year, renovating, like designing, hosting. We were running the Airbnb business and we were consulting at the same time. And long story short, we got burned out and it was like too much. But
Yeah.
I'm really passionate now about helping people if they want to quit their job, to quit their job, but
Yeah.
also helping them buy the right type of real estate, because a lot of people don't know what will help them save on taxes or how to create cash flow or how to create equity and like what an actual good deal is in real estate.
Yeah.
But I like helping people that are in positions where they have a decent amount of money, they pay a lot in taxes,
Yeah.
and they don't want to do that anymore. And maybe they don't want to quit their jobs right now. Maybe they love their jobs, but
Yeah.
they know that there's another way. And that's what I really help people do, is figure that out.
Yeah. Let me frame it. I think our physicians have like this love-hate relationship with their jobs. And I'm not going to talk for like every physician, but maybe we can extrapolate from my experience. And I think I know Miguel's experience pretty well, which is that we love the interaction with the patient. We love this being in the surgery, in the OR room.
Mm-hmm.
That is the love part of the relationship. And then everything around it kind of feels unnecessary. And it is necessary. There's a lot of structure around it, but we have this relationship. And I think that we feel a lack of freedom from, not necessarily from a monetary perspective, because, society rewards us with a good income,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I do feel a lack of freedom as far as my time and my autonomy with what I do with my time. So I think a lot of us look for investments as a way to have that option of freedom that, okay, if it gets to me too much, if everything outside the operating room and outside the clinic, the patient interaction gets to me too much, then I can say, fuck off.
Mm-hmm.
And, I can do that financially.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, walk us through real estate and all you've learned And how can you tailor your message or your experience to our audience?
The thing that I love about real estate is it allows you to give a big fuck you to your boss if you want.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. Yeah.
If that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
Real estate allows you to say no to everybody else in your life. Real estate gives you the freedom that you need to go do whatever you want.
Yeah.
It takes some time and effort to get there. It's not without effort or energy or some level of sacrifice in the beginning.
Yeah.
Right. But I teach, and the framework that I like to use around real estate, I call it the velocity of money.
Mhm.
So the velocity of money is creating the most amount of wealth in the shortest amount of time.
Yeah.
Using real estate. And this is the thing that is available to every American, every person in this country, no matter your income level, no matter where you're at. It's how you double, triple your money in a short amount of time.
Mm.
No matter if you're getting paid $1 million a year or if you're getting paid $100,000 a year or less, right? Your ability to multiply your money through real estate with the right type of real estate is what I'm really passionate about. And so there's sort of 4 ways that this works with the velocity of money. I call them the accelerators. And so the first one is through leverage. Leverage is debt. Leverage is your ability to buy an entire property with a fraction of the price, right? You put a down payment, usually it's 20% on like an investment property,
Right.
but you get the whole asset. If you go do that with a stock, you buy 1 unit, you pay for 1 unit of stock, you get 1 unit of stock,
Yeah.
right? That's it. There's no leverage. With real estate, I can buy an entire property for 20% of the cost. And then the second accelerator, the way that this works is, why it's so powerful is with forced appreciation. So there's normal appreciation, right? The market goes up, right? The value of the property goes up over time. There's some inflation, and so it goes up, and maybe your neighborhood gets better, and so the value of the property goes up. When you force appreciation, you make improvements, you update the kitchen, the bathroom, whatever you do, you do some landscaping. That's forcing appreciation. You spend a little bit of money to get a higher return.
Yeah.
When you combine leverage and forced appreciation, that's when the magic happens. Because let's say you buy $1 million property,
Mm-hmm.
you put $100,000 in, and then that $1 million property goes up 10% in value. That's $100,000 that you just gained in value.
Yeah.
Well, you only put $100,000 down on the property, but it went up 10%. If you pay cash for that $1 million, for that $1 million house, and it goes up 10%, you made $100,000 on $1 million.
Yeah.
So this is why leverage and forced appreciation, this is like the main part of the velocity of money is you go buy the best property in the best neighborhood, like you go make a little bit of improvement to it, and you force the value to go up because you put in a fraction of the price or the fraction of the value of the property.
Yeah.
And you force it to increase in value. We call this luxury flips,
Okay.
right? So there's a lot of people that flip properties.
Yeah.
I like to do luxury flip to short-term rental. What that means is, because when you do it as a short-term rental, you get unlimited tax benefits. You get tax benefits by doing an Airbnb that you don't get access to anywhere else. So people call it the short-term rental loophole. So the tax benefits are, it's not just writing things off like, oh, I bought this, I bought some furnishings, I bought a couch, I bought this. There's something called depreciation. And so this is the one of the accelerators in the velocity of money is depreciation. This is where you can work your regular job. You can be a surgeon, a physician, an engineer, a mechanic, a plumber, but you get to essentially write off the entire value of the property against your regular income.
The entire value?
Yes.
So if you buy like a
$1 million property.
$1 million property, you write off $1 million?
Yes, there's a little caveat there, like the value of the land gets subtracted out. But
Okay.
let's say the house itself is worth $1 million. You maybe paid 1.2.
Yeah.
And it's worth $1 million. You get to write off $1 million because you're offering it as a short-term rental to the public as a product.
Yeah.
It's called the short-term rental loophole. It's not a loophole, it's just rules.
Yeah.
And so this is the thing that will create generational wealth in your family. If all you did was buy one Airbnb a year and you buy it in the best neighborhood that you can, the highest price per square foot neighborhood. So like what's in Austin, what would be like the ideal neighborhood to buy in?
I don't know, somewhere in Lakeway, probably.
Lakeway,
Yeah.
Zilker,
yeah.
right? And
South Congress or something
South
like that.
Congress,
Yeah.
exactly. So, and the best formula is you buy something that needs a little bit of work.
Yeah.
You put some money into it. And let's say you put $100,000 into it.
Yeah.
In the right neighborhoods, You put 100 grand in, you get 200 or 300 grand in value, right? So if I make improvements, I want $2 or $3 back on every dollar I spend.
Yeah. And then you depreciate the value of the house after the improvements from your W-2.
Exactly. And let's say you buy $1 million, but you only make $250,000 a year.
Yeah.
Well, you get to do that every year until you deplete the amount of the value of the
Can
property.
you go back on previous years?
You would have to refile. You would have to refile.
Refile.
Yeah. But like,
who does that? Who does that calculation of the value of the house?
So when you first buy it,
Yeah.
it's what you pay for it.
Oh,
Yes. So when you first buy it, it's whatever you pay for it. It's called a cost basis.
Okay.
And so there's two things you need to do. You need to do an accountant, CPA.
Yeah.
And then you need someone to do what's called a cost segregation.
okay.
So the cost segregation study says, well, you've got the land, you've got the building, you've got doors, windows, bathrooms, you've got all this stuff. They segregate the costs. And then there's a rule, the big beautiful bill,
Mm-hmm.
called bonus depreciation.
Yeah.
And that allows you to write off the entire amount in the first year if that's what you want to do. But you also don't need to do that if you don't need it. So if you have $1 million of tax write-offs,
Yeah.
but you make $250,000, you can take 4 years to write that. So one property could allow you to pay $0 in taxes for 4 or 5 years.
Holy shit.
Right? So
Yeah,
for
okay.
everyone out there that makes 500, 700, whatever you guys are making, look at go get your tax statement or your paycheck that you can get from your employer, look at the piece of paper and look at your year-to-date taxes.
Yeah.
If you bought something before the end of the year right now and you put it in service before the end of the year and you hosted a guest,
Yeah.
you would get a refund from the government for that entire amount.
Wait, okay. So I'm gonna be very self-serving. I'm gonna use this for my personal consultation. So I have an Airbnb.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought it, I don't know, 2002, 2001. So 2022, 2021.
Yep.
And I haven't done this.
Yep.
Can I go back?
Yep. You would just have to go get with your CPA.
Yeah.
They would have to reopen your tax return.
Yeah.
And then you would have to do a cost segregation.
Yeah.
And then they would apply it.
And when would I get the money for the previous years? So we're into 2025.
Yeah, they likely would cut you a check for
every
you overpaid.
Okay. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. Now talk to your CPA.
Yeah.
And you have to find the right CPA. So what I'll tell you is, so like, for example, my brother, he makes a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I've told him about this every single year.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I talked to my CPA and he says, I can't do it. And I was like, I'm telling you, everybody can do this. This is available to every single person.
Okay.
And you will literally pay $0 in taxes. So, and you forget though, because your money goes out.
Yeah.
Right? Your money goes out in your paycheck.
Yeah.
And so.
But it's a shit ton.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And then the first year you do it, you'll get the refund.
Okay.
The other years, what you can do is you can actually, if you do the math right, you can actually just get rid of your taxes that you pay in your paycheck. You might want to pay a little bit.
Yeah.
But you can change your W-4 or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And you get to keep all of that money for you to then go. This is why it's the velocity of money.
Yeah.
Because if you get to keep the money that would normally go to your taxes, you get to go use that to go invest in more real estate, go invest in whatever you want, your business or whatever you want to spend that money on.
Yeah.
But this is the ultimate hack for the everyday average American, anyone, dual income, no kids, anyone making a lot of money, even if you don't make a lot of money, but everyone that makes a lot of money and you pay a lot in taxes, this is the easiest and most straightforward thing that you can do.
Does the property need to be in the US?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The property needs to be in the US. I don't know. There might be some other rules that I don't know about, but the easiest and best is to go buy in the US. And a lot of people get hung up on, what market to buy in, all that. Honestly, if you buy in the right neighborhood near you, go think about the neighborhood that like appreciates the most, where all the rich people live, right?
Yeah.
You want to go buy in that neighborhood or a neighborhood like that because that's where the most equity is going to be made, the most value.
Yeah.
A lot of people focus on the cash flow, but you and your audience, you don't need the cash flow. You want equity and you want tax benefits.
And you want tax benefits.
Because so like, let's say it's a killer Airbnb.
Yeah.
And you're doing like 10 grand a month net. That's great. That's not most Airbnbs.
Yeah.
Where you make the most amount of money is you buy in the right neighborhood, you force appreciation, right? You make updates, you update the kitchen, the bathroom, like I said. So you spend 100 grand and you get 300 in value.
Yeah.
You just made 200 grand.
And then you do
the tax benefits.
All that from your taxes.
Yes.
Appreciated value too.
And so now you've got Now you've got a ton of equity.
Yeah.
That's wealth. When we talk about equity, that's wealth.
Yeah.
That's how you build generational wealth, is through equity, not cash flow. And you guys already make enough cash flow in your income.
Yeah.
Your income is your cash flow.
And then what do you do with that house after you extract the tax benefit from it?
Great question. So so usually what I recommend is you hold on to properties for 4 to 5 years, because that's when the tax benefits usually run out.
Yeah.
So then you go and you trade up.
Okay.
So this is where the real magic happens, is once you do your first property,
Yeah.
you get all your equity, you get all your tax benefits, you've kind of sucked it dry, right? There's nothing more you can do.
Yeah.
You then go trade up and you do what's called a 1031 exchange. The 1031 exchange allows you to sell without paying any taxes whatsoever at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go buy a bigger property.
But you have 3 months to do it, right?
So the rules are you have 45 days to go identify.
Okay.
So you have to go within 45 days, you got to go say, I'm going to buy this
house,
property.
Yeah.
And then you have up to 6 months to close on that property.
6 months. Okay.
Yes. And you have to do a like kind. And like kind means if it's an investment property, you can buy another type of investment property. It doesn't have to be house to house. You could buy storage, hotel, something that's generating income.
Okay.
So if you wanted to really level up, you go from a house to a hotel, right?
Yeah.
Or a house to storage unit. Or you just do, $1 million house to a $3 million house.
Yeah.
Because before, you're appreciating on the $1 million. When you trade up, you're appreciating on the 3 million. And everyone's like, oh, well, how do I go from $1 million to a 3 million? Well, you created a ton of equity in that first property. So the amount of equity that you have will actually allow you to buy a much bigger or more expensive property. And if you buy in the right neighborhood and you do what I'm talking about, it will cash flow, meaning you'll be able to at least cover the mortgage and all expenses.
Yeah.
And then you start the tax benefits all over again. So you do the 1031, you don't pay any taxes, and then you get to restart the tax benefits on the larger or more higher value property.
Yeah.
So this is how wealth is created in the US through real estate. But you should continue to work your job, because that is your highest leverage activity.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're making $1 million a year, don't stop doing that unless you really are just like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Buy as many Airbnbs as you can for the next 5 years, and you will have generational wealth beneath you with cash flow and tax benefits.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you have a mastermind where you kind of teach all this.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, I call it escape velocity, because I don't expect everybody to become full-time real estate investors.
Mm-hmm.
What I want to enable people to live their true purpose, right?
Yeah.
And I want them to do it this way by buying these types of properties. So many people come to me like with limiting beliefs and like, I tried it before, or I bought this deal and I didn't make money because they bought some condo in the middle of nowhere and they're not making any money. And my goal is to help them buy the types of properties that I just described.
Yeah.
Right. I know that your audience, the highest value is to reduce their tax bill.
Yeah.
Right. That's your cash flow. You can literally translate your tax bill into a cash flowing asset. And so in my mastermind, in my community, we have a ton of people that are buying these types of properties, right? Some are first time, a lot are not.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of a life transformation supported by the real estate.
So I know that the majority of physicians are going to say, great, but it sounds like I have to put a lot of my time and energy into this. How would you approach it for someone that, works 60, 80 hours a week already?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
There is time that's going to be required.
Yeah.
You can outsource a lot of the work.
Mm-hmm.
You still have to spend 100 hours in the year on the property.
Okay.
And you have to be the one that spends the most amount of time.
So you can have a property manager.
You can. They just can't spend more time than you. Yeah. Which is why if you're being strategic, buying something in the second half of the year is really the way to go.
Okay.
Because then you kind of guarantee that you're going to spend more time if you're doing anything. The other way to do it, this is the other huge hack, is one partner is the moneymaker, and the other partner is what's called a real estate professional, or they're the ones helping do a lot of the work. Right? If you're married, it doesn't have to be one person doing all the work. It can be you as a couple.
Your spouse could be
project manager. They're showing up on site, but if you make a decent amount of money, and this is also why I say buy a more expensive property, because you can afford to pay people to put the furniture together and all that.
Yeah.
So the other strategy is go buy something that doesn't need a ton of work. So I know I talked about like forcing appreciation.
Yeah.
But even if you just bought something in a really nice neighborhood that was sort of like new construction, new build, that's fine too. So find something where you just need to furnish it, or you can hire a designer that can go furnish it. They're all out there. As long as you spend 100 hours in the year.
Yeah.
That's the IRS's
someone, or the person you're married to, and you, can it be a combination of both?
I think it can, but talk to
your CPA.
Yeah, talk to a CPA. Remember, I'm not a CPA. This is just what I've learned through like
getting CPA that works on this area.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
And there are very great, I have a couple that I work with, and inside the community, you get access to all my resources.
Oh, your hacks.
Yeah.
Cool. So, all right, let me just process all this. So basically, through your tax bill, you can have a business. You can finance a business.
100%.
That's crazy.
Exactly. That's a perfect way to look at it. So the first year you're going to put up the cash yourself.
Yeah.
But then essentially you can decrease your contributions to taxes if you do the math right. Yeah. There's kind of an easy way you can figure it out. Or you just get the refund every April.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about masterminds, because I don't know, lately this past year I've spent a lot of time and some of my money on coaching and masterminds. I know you run a mastermind. I know that you pay for masterminds and coaching. Tell us a little bit about the value you've seen. Did you do it before you started your whole entrepreneurial journey, or is this something that you've been doing for a while?
I was a hardcore DIY.
Yeah.
Put everything on my back. That was my work ethic. And I've been really successful doing that. So why would I do it any differently?
Yeah.
Right? Just keep going, keep grinding, keep working.
Yeah.
You'll figure it out. And what that turned into was I was a very frustrated, angry, disappointed man.
Yeah.
Wondering why all the people that I worked with were angry, frustrated,
disappointed men.
Disappointing men.
Yeah. And women.
Yeah. And I, the tension between my wife and I in our relationship was getting very, and we were working together, and it was in construction, and like, we were so focused on the vision that we forgot to take care of ourselves. Right. And so basically at some point, it was about 2.5 years ago, I said, okay, I literally don't know what to do. My head's hitting the ceiling. I know there's more. I'm watching other people that are doing more, having an easier life. Right. And something's not working. I'm a smart guy. I'm capable. Something's not working. And so I ended up joining Dan Martell's coaching program. And it was like $8,000 at the time. And that was like, I've never spent that money on myself. It was because I'm a real estate guy. So it's like, you buy real estate because that has a return, and the numbers, and there's tax benefits. So I joined Dan's program, and that was really transformational, because and a lot of what I learned from Dan, I teach in my community, because it's the stuff that has helped me let go of everything. And so since Dan's program, I've spent over $200,000 on coaching, masterminds, therapy, self-improvement, right? I went like all in. I was like, give me everything. And it has really been what's changed. What it does really, it's a little bit about the information, but it's more about the network and the proximity to people that are actually doing the things that you want to do. Because I remember feeling like I was surrounded by people that were like dragging me down. Some of it's perception, right? Some of it's within my
Some of it's true.
But a lot of it was like, I didn't have anyone around me that was like, had the same dreams and goals. And so I got into rooms that the people in there, their realities were my dreams. So I went and found people that were doing what I wanted to be doing in the future. And so what it does is it collapses time. Your $10,000 or whatever you put into the mastermind collapses time. So instead of spending another 8 years in residency or, you just pay the money, and you get access to all the information, all the people, all the resources. And you don't really know, especially if you haven't experienced it before, you don't really know the benefit of what it feels like to have a group of people that are all doing the same thing or similar, and everyone is moving in the same direction. You feel like a team, everyone knows everybody, and you have access to all these resources. So like, for example, in my community, if you come in, and I'm not just like pitching, but this is what happens. You're like, okay, well, I need a CPA. Boom, got it. Oh, I need a designer. Boom, got it. Like you don't have to go searching for the best. Like we bring the best to you. And that's what I've experienced. And then it's unlocked so many other doors. So since joining other masterminds, I decided to stop consulting, start my podcast, like really go all in on content, build more confidence in myself. That's how I met Courtney. And then that's why I'm here today. That's why, I'm doing all these other leadership programs and like really improving myself. And it's really about the people and who you connect with that will give you access to the freedom that you want.
Yeah.
That's what I've learned through this journey is like, you can't do it all on your own. And it's the people and it's the groups and the communities that you're part of that really unlock the next level.
Yeah. Are there any masterminds for people that, say they are happy with their job, like it's like a physician that is happy with their job, but you think would add value to successful professional's life that doesn't necessarily have to be around content, anything like that, but just like holistically as a human being, these type of masterminds are they say a must. Just invest in this, it will up level your life.
Okay, great question.
Yeah.
Because so I would say not Dan Martell's because that's very, very business focused.
Yeah.
But the real estate ones,
Mhm.
like mine, like we have a lot of people that have regular jobs, right? So my advice to people is your own limiting beliefs around what this mastermind is or who's in there is probably wrong.
Yeah.
Because when I joined, there was one I joined, I spent 35 grand to get in. I was like, who the hell am I? There's all these people that are super successful and da da da, which is true, but that's what you want. You want to be the dumbest one in the room. You want to be the small fish in the big pond because that's how you're going to level up. So even in these other communities where it's like, okay, well, I'm a physician. Why am I in a mastermind that's, built around being a real estate investor? Well, it's because you're doing something that they do. They're experts.
Yeah.
Right. And then the other one that was really beneficial to me was with Lucas Mack. He's a breathwork facilitator. So I realized that in all areas of my life, I want and need a coach. So Lucas was sort of my spiritual healer, guider, breathwork. And if you don't know who he is, you should follow him. He's actually Jake Paul's coach, breathwork coach.
Okay.
So if you look at Jake Paul, the boxer, and you see this tattooed man in the ring with him doing like breathwork, that's Lucas, and that's who I went to. And he does a couple things. He does a course and he does some one-on-one, I think, but through breathwork and through healing practices, that really opened my heart wide open and like actually pushed me into wanting to do more with my life and like be different than I was. So
can you expand a little bit on that?
Well, he does breath work.
Yeah.
And there was so
can you explain to who probably a lot of our audience hasn't heard about breath work or hasn't done breath work?
Okay, this is great.
Yeah.
This is great because I had not done breath work until like 3 years ago. I'd done sound baths and was getting into some of that stuff. And my experience with Lucas Mack is he's the best breathwork facilitator that I've ever experienced. Breathwork is a somatic experience where it activates your nervous system. I'm not an expert, so I might be using words that are incorrect. The experience that I felt, especially going through this with Lucas, was I went into another dimension. Like I'm just being honest. Like your body vibrates.
Yeah.
And the other thing that it does is like you start to feel yourself going there. You start to feel your body going to that next level, and you can either lean all the way in or you can pull back. And when I lean all the way in, literally in another dimension, the visualizations of like my quantum identity, like I'm like flying through space. And what they say is it's as close that you can get to like DMT and mushrooms and all that without actually taking the drugs.
Yeah.
The practice is a specific type of breathing. And what I'll say is there's a lot of people out there that are doing breath work, but I've seen it and I've been a part of it, and it's not what this is. So like find someone that's doing actual breath work that will like put you into a different state. It's not just meditation. It's like you want to activate your parasympathetic nervous system to go into a different state, to release emotions and get energy moving. And it's just another form of like therapy and healing and like a way to access different parts of your mind and your body.
And what has that brought to your life? Because again, I kind of know my my community. I'm going to say, oh, that's sure, that's fun, but how does that help me in my day-to-day life?
It relieves anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
It relieves stress. It allows me to operate in the world as a better person. It's one of those things that it's hard to always put into words because we don't always know how we're operating.
Yeah.
We don't always know
Yeah.
what our emotional state is or how we're showing up,
How
for
people perceive us.
how people perceive us.
Yeah.
And when you go through the experience of breathwork, when you really do it, you leave one exhausted because it's a lot of energy and you're releasing a lot of tension and unknown stuff that you're carrying. And then it just puts you into a different state of being. And it's something that you need to practice. But it's pretty incredible what your body is capable of just through breathing. And Lucas offers it's on YouTube, it's like a 5-minute practice.
Mm.
Even just a daily 5-minute puts you into a whole different state of mind, right? And so energy is a choice, right?
Energy is a choice.
Energy is a choice.
Yeah.
And I've actually been dancing with my family every morning recently because mornings can go, any moment can go any way that you want it to.
Yeah.
And your ability to shift into a different energy and be a leader and be someone that can do that is a choice you can make every moment. And it's fun. Like life can be fun.
Yeah.
All of this stuff is getting more popular. Breath work, healing stuff, like all of this stuff that you're seeing nowadays, mushrooms, it's a byproduct of where we're at in society.
Mm.
I believe that the divisiveness, the frustration
Yeah.
is a byproduct of our society, and specifically, I would say even millennials, being promised something about what their economic future was going to be, being able to buy a house, have the family being taken care of in some way. Not that that people don't want to work or anything like that, but the wage gap, I think the wage gap is at the center of this. Wages have not kept up with inflation and expenses, and it was already bad, and I think it's worse now, which is why I'm so passionate about helping people. But I believe we're just at this heightened state of frustration as a society right now. And our emotions and our anger and our frustration and our hurt is like at an all-time high, like in our throats and our bodies.
Yeah.
And this stuff is gaining so much popularity because it's helping people. And we don't know where else to turn, right?
Yeah.
We don't have the normal, routes to take anymore. They're not effective.
Well, the alternative is so empty. Like, when I grew up completely atheist. And I would have like 1 or 2 nights of complete insomnia where I couldn't sleep when I was like a teenager. And then my mind would just go to like, how can I scientifically prove that God doesn't exist? And I would just go into mental thoughts. So that was where I was at. And then through residency, I did residency in North Philly, which was a war zone. Literally, we had people from the military come to train with us in trauma because it was like, 10, 15, sometimes 24 people would come in shot on a night.
In one night?
In one night.
Whoa.
So when you are so close to death, the veil between this world and the other blurs and you see crazy shit. You see things that are like, there's no way that is a coincidence. And then you can say, okay, sure, that's a coincidence. But this just happened over and over and over and over again. And you're like, what the hell is this? And you start getting intuitions about like who's going to live and who's going to die. Crazy stuff. So then I shifted it just because life just saw it. When you see the life leave a human and you can tell that something like the spirit is no longer there, then you just have to believe it. That's what was my experience. Anyways, so then I've been more of a spiritual person and I've had experiences that have expanded that. And it's the alternative is so empty to not having a connection, to not thinking that there's something beyond us. I just don't know how I could live like that. Like the way, yeah, my perspective on the world would be bleak. I would say. But anyways, so I think that there's a hunger, and you can see it, and you feel in the Geist that there's a hunger to connect with that part of us that's connected to the divine. And I think that that's a lot of breath work. There's all these things that are just tools to allow us to remember our connection to the divine. It can be religion, it could be prayer, it could be psychedelics, it could be breath work, it could be ecstatic dancing. All these things, in my opinion and my perspective, are just tools for one to remember that. But
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. Similar experience growing up for me. I was not a surgeon in the war zone of Philadelphia, but
Yeah.
recently as I've gone through all this work and started helping people and gotten deeper into my connection with myself and nature and my wife, and I've seen where people are at. My heart has definitely been more open to God and like what that means more, and I've intellectually understood source and power and all that, but been sort of resistant to the word and all that. But I can feel it now more in my body and my heart.
Yeah.
And have a deeper connection with what that might all mean. So it's been interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is interesting. And who the hell knows what the truth is, but there's definitely, and there's this teaching, and you hear these things, you hear these ideas more and more, and they're kind of like floating among us. And the one that I like and that resonates to me is that I'm every human that has ever existed. I like that concept that I'm you right now. Like the guy outside, the audio engineer. I'm every human that has ever existed. And I am just a manifestation of God having a human experience. And maybe I'm the lamp too, or I don't know. But when I think about these things, like, that makes sense to me for some reason.
So what do you think then about the society, capitalism, having jobs like that? What do you think about that?
I think it's just a manifestation of this moment in time and space. I mean, there's this book called which I really love, is the Secret History of Consciousness. So, another thing that obviously resonates, because it's probably true, is that as above, so below, as within, so without. So, in the external world, we believe in evolution, right? We believe that things evolve, that everything's changed, and everything changes over time. So if everything changes, then consciousness might change. And so what is consciousness? Who the hell knows, right? But I guess we can say, is how we experience the world. How I perceive you right now, how I perceive this room, has something to do with my consciousness. So you would think that if everything changes and consciousness changes, the way we perceive the world in the 1500s, during the Roman Empire, during the Egyptian Empire, is completely different. So we could be the same physical form as human beings, Homo sapiens, but our perception of reality might be completely different. And if you think it like that, then, whatever, capitalism, communism, feudalism, all these things, like how we interact with the world, is just going to change as our level of consciousness changes. So hopefully we are changing in a positive way, and hopefully we can reconcile, motivation and incentives with kindness and empathy, and, wanting everything for every human in the world, which I believe is a part of you, as, that's not that I believe, just I heard it makes sense. And then we can reconcile those things where we can, be productive, have incentive to do and create, because I also think that we're here to create things as humans. That's one of our main drives. And at the same time, take care of each other and the people that aren't as lucky or aren't decided to have, that's might be controversial, decided to have a different experience than you, and we see it as a lower socioeconomic status or something like that.
I think it all comes back to we are creators and we are connectors.
Yeah.
I think about you and your influence on me in the leadership program that I'm
Yeah.
a part of, I was thinking a lot about this, and I bet everyone here listening, when they've had a breakthrough, when they've had a moment in their life, when they've had a change, when they've finally accomplished something, you can trace it back to actually an individual that
Mhm.
decided to make a choice to create something,
Yeah.
right? We are so like selfish in our day-to-day lives, right? We are so in our own stuff.
Mhm.
But there's 8 billion people on the planet. And the things that actually truly matter and truly mean something and the most impactful parts of our lives are when we created something with other people.
Yeah.
And usually you can trace all of your moments of breakthrough back to a person or people and something that they or someone else created. Where you met them, it was someone that created that event. Where you had the breakthrough, it was an event or a space or something that someone decided to create on their own. And there's a bunch of books that I've read over the last couple of years, but one is called The Artist's Way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great book.
great book.
Yeah.
And at the heart of it's that we are all creators.
Mm-hmm.
We are all artists.
Yeah.
And it's just everyone's art is different.
Yeah.
Right. This is your art. Real estate and the podcast is my art. Right. If you're a physician, that's your art.
That's a great book for surgeons because I totally related to it. Like surgery is
Yeah.
every stitch I put is my art. Every like intervention I do is my art. And then it's a great perspective to
And like I came from engineering.
Yeah.
Engineering was my art.
Yeah.
And I really do believe that. And I look back on what I was doing. I was like, that was art that I was creating, even though it was just these things that I was putting out in the world, but that's your art. And so that book, it teaches you different techniques too, the morning pages and writing and artist date and getting separated from the day-to-day things that we get into and creating space for yourself. And I just love that book because when you think of yourself as a creator, as an artist, you have more motivation to go create.
Yeah.
And there's purpose behind what you're doing. Right. Yeah.
But I think just the act of creating creates positive change in the world because so we're sharing this experience called ALA. And the way it came to my life is I went to Burning Man and in Burning Man, you go to Burning Man, you should go in a camp. The camps are complicated. There's logistics, there's electricity, there's the food kitchen. So they're camp leads. And it was random, right? A friend said, oh, you want to go? You should go with this camp. And every camp lead was like an extraordinary human, like amazing human beings, successful, exited companies, founding companies, creating things in the world, but the best human beings ever, like warm, welcoming, highly competent. So I was in the electricity group or whatever, and the camp lead is a lawyer who exited his company and learned how to build a whole electrical system for the camp with a huge generator. And at the end, we built the whole thing. It takes a day and some change. And we're there. And this idea of, Burning Man super impactful. But something I recently did was ALA. It was like, whoa, it's really impactful. So that came into my mind. And then I just decided to do it. And I had an amazing experience and then said, Courtney, you have to do this. And then she did it. And so just to do something that was for me, I wasn't thinking of other people. I brought in Courtney brought other people. And, a lot of people have had amazing experiences. So what I want to say with this is that I don't think creation has to be like an act of, obviously giving to other people is wonderful, but it can also be an act of creating for the sake of creating for yourself.
Yeah.
And that by itself creates an immense amount of positive change in the world.
There's a book by Rick Rubin, The Creative Act.
Yeah. Awesome.
One of the main premises of that book is to create for yourself.
Yeah.
Because when you do that, you're being authentic and that's what should be put out into the world. You're not creating for anybody else.
Yeah.
And your art that is for you will find the people that it's meant for.
Exactly.
Right. And whether you're creating a physical object, whether you're creating space, an event, whatever, like your art is your art. And if you create for yourself, that's tapping into like your source and tapping into your superpower.
Yeah.
and you'll find what you're looking for when you start doing that. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's tapping into like the entire the world's dream. As like Carlos Castaneda calls it, right? You're tapping into the world's dream, and thus you're tapping into everyone, and it kind of like it's aligned with everyone, even though you think it's just for yourself.
Yeah. And the thing with the real estate for me, I actually struggled for a long time on whether I should start a community or not, because I got so burned out on real estate, doing it the way that I was. And I finally realized that it's like, well, what did it give me? It gave me time freedom, location freedom. It gave me the ability to sit on a podcast and like talk and connect with people.
Yeah.
And it gave me the ability to not have to commute into work. It gave me so much that I also felt like I had to share it with the world. And it's not, the real estate is a Trojan horse to living.
As most things are.
Exactly. And when you realize that,
it's just a Trojan horse. Like this podcast is a Trojan horse.
100%. Yeah. The whole thing, it's like, and it's also okay to do it for yourself and like all that. And so I realized like, okay, I really just want to help people, and I really want them to live their true purpose. And so like, I teach people how to buy real estate and all that stuff. But like really a call that we had last week, I mean, we had everybody in tears. And honestly, after going through ALA, and I'm still in it, but through the leadership program, I didn't prep for that call. Usually I'm like prepping. I didn't prep. I didn't even know what I was going to talk about that day. I was like, okay, limiting beliefs. And I spent like half an hour going deep into limiting beliefs, and then gave an hour to everybody on the call to talk. And everybody was in tears, because we realized how small we play, and we don't give ourselves the opportunity to speak on our own desires and our own needs. And that's what I want. That's what I'm here for, is to open people up. Yes, I will teach you all this stuff, right? Like that's fine. You will get that. You will get that. But it's really about connecting with other human beings that are and being able to open yourself up. So that was what allowed me to like finally launch the community and do it. Was realizing that I had more to give, and I could help people beyond just buying property, right? Because once you do it, yes, it's shiny and it's fun and it's like, I'm doing this, and you should. But once you do it, you'll realize kind of how easy it is and how inconsequential it really is.
Yeah.
Right. It's not about the real estate. It's about you doing something for yourself. Yeah.
All right. And with that, we'll end it. Thank you so much, Kassidy. This was so fun. I knew this was going to be amazing. So
Lucas, this was so good. Thank you. I love talking about this stuff. So.
All right. Hope everyone enjoyed. Vamos.
Vamos.